Welcome to Give Mike a Mic Reloaded. Load it.
Muffin time!
I feel like we could have a very educated conversation without
That'd be good.
being like
Without ganging up on
yes.
me? Yeah.
Okay, which is your favorite Destiny, Joe?
Probably the one.
You want to talk about
The
Destiny?
one-
What the f*** you want to talk about Destiny then? Tell me.
So, let me tell you. My favorite one is when...
Jamie, tell me!
The
Jamie!
guy...
But let me see.
You have to chop his head off, his arms off, his fingers off, everything. His penis, everything. Just chop it all off. His power, anything that swings, that can swing, is powerful, including his dick.
Get rid of it.
Chop it all off. Just get it off.
Get rid of it.
Get it out of here. Just fling it somewhere else. Burn it. Burn it to the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special episode of Give Mike a Mic Reloaded. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, Lake Washington, in Seattle with one of my good friends. If you're reading the title, you'll already know her name. She is Sara with no H. And we want to do this podcast because she is an interesting creature. Or so we like to think, but I don't know if she is. But Sara with no H. I'm going to have you introduce yourself in a minute. However, I do want to let this be known that you are a very special person here because you are the first podcast I am recording in the year 2023 for this new season. You may not be the first episode that I'm putting out, but this is the first time I am recording after a long hiatus that we've had. So, no pressure on you. Before we get into it, we'll do some little housekeeping stuff. So, make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and wherever your favorite destinations are for your podcast. Make sure you also are following us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, that's where you see all of our videos and all of our wonderful podcast episodes. They are on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed and you are liking our videos. I appreciate that. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you rate us and review us. 5 stars, because I am a 5-star man. Sara with no H, before you get on this mic, because I know you're very hesitant to do that, I want you to come closer to the microphone when you're ready, to introduce yourself, let everybody know what it is you do. Don't tell us who you work for. Just tell me what you do for a living, and we're going to take it from there. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sara with no H. I am a flight attendant for about 5 years now, based in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And you live in Charlotte?
Currently, yes.
Nice. Not originally from Charlotte?
No.
Where are you from? Because your accent, a lot of people that will be watching this podcast are going to be very confused.
Oh, I know.
Where you're from?
I'm from Minnesota, born and raised. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
The North Country. I love it. I'm very proud of my home state.
So are we. However, I'm not proud of you because I told you the other day, last week I think it was, that one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time, it's very popular with this podcast, was filmed in Minnesota. It's called Jingle All the Way.
I've never even heard of it.
You've never heard of the movie yet, not alone seen it. You've never heard of this movie. Have you seen a cover of it? No, you've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it. You said it was about the Macy's Day Parade. Is that what you're saying?
No, they have a parade.
Yeah.
In Minneapolis. It's called the Winterfest Parade. But there is the basis of this movie.
Okay.
Do you remember Tickle Me Elmo?
Yes.
Do you know that craze that was happening? People were like
In the 90s,
shopping. Yeah, in the 90s. That's what led to like Black Friday, things of that nature. So this movie is about a guy, a father by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the actor. He stars in this movie, yes. He forgets to celebrate his... Oh, he didn't buy his son a Christmas present? And his kid really wants a Turbo Man doll. And because he misses his kid's karate tournament in Minnesota, he's like, what do you want for Christmas? Anything you want. What do you want for Christmas? Anything you want, I'll give it to you. And then he says, I want a Turbo Man doll. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, yes, I'll get it for you. It's fine. And then the next day, he's like, oh my God, like me and my son, we're bonding. And I want to, that's a terrible accent. But me and my son, we were bonding. And here is I'm going to get a Turbo Man doll. Like, it's fine. The wife is like, it's sold out everywhere. So the whole movie is his quest on getting this Turbo Man doll that is sold out everywhere, all over Minneapolis. And he runs around trying to get this Turbo Man doll. But his adversary is played by Sinbad. Do you remember Sinbad, the comedian? Do you remember First Take? First Kid? First Kid, it was called. It was a Disney movie where he was bodyguarding the president of the United States' son. His young son. No? Okay. That's okay. This is a movie podcast, by the way. So we do movies, TV shows, trivia.
I am the worst person to talk about movies with.
Travel. Well, you know about travel.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that.
Yeah. But
Cool.
not movies.
Not movies, no. My point is, Jingle All the Way, you need to watch it.
Okay.
Immediately. And then you can be proud of your
I'll put it on the list.
Minnesota.
I am already proud of Minnesota.
What are you most proud of Minnesota?
Probably Target. Because Target is from Minnesota.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I like the people there and all the things and corn and.
For me, I really like cone.
We had a discussion on the plane the other day. Today, I think it was.
It was today.
It felt so long ago. It was so early this morning. What we were talking about is it the Minnesota State Fair?
Yeah.
And how corn is very popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you how the song affected this. So do you want to tell that story about how you go to it every year, right?
Yeah.
They have corn every year. Corn is a big thing. Okay.
So the Minnesota State Fair is huge. It is the second largest in the country, Texas being number one. But there's the cookie booth and the corn booth are like the two most popular things. And that corn song came out right before the State Fair. The State Fair is the 10 days leading up to Labor Day.
Okay.
So it came out right before that. So there's thousands of people that crowd around this corn booth. And everyone was like singing the corn song. And I posted a video on Instagram and everyone was commenting the corn song. You know, the corn song.
Can you sing it for us?
I don't want to.
Can you sing us the corn song?
Nope.
It's cone. A big corn that knobs. It has to chew.
It's also a podcast tradition. If we are drinking, we always ask, what are you drinking? So, what are you drinking, Sarah with no H?
Mimosa.
Mimosas.
Yeah.
Champagne and orange juice for those that are uncultured and don't know what a mimosa is.
Mm-hmm.
Orange juice and champagne.
Mm-hmm.
I am drinking Woodford Reserve on the rocks. Not a big fan of Woodford, but this is better than champagne for my taste buds. So, did not want to go downstairs and get an old fashioned yet. We're meeting our pilot friends in about an hour for dinner and some drinks and maybe karaoke. We'll see. But before we do that,
This hotel does have karaoke.
it does have karaoke in the hotel, inside the hotel. Beer, bourbon, karaoke is like the big seller of this whole place. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this podcast. A lot of things I want to get into with you.
Okay.
Not a lot, just enough. So as we stated earlier, you're a flight attendant. Been a flight attendant for 5 years. That answered my first question. How long have you been a flight? 5 years. Love it. Where has been your favorite layover and why?
Okay.
Your favorite.
So I always answer this. I have one domestic and one international.
Okay.
My international is probably Tel Aviv because it's like the most different place I've ever been. It's somewhere I've never been on my own. I've only been there on layovers.
Okay.
The food is incredible.
I've heard.
Everything is beautiful there.
And how long were you there for?
So I've had a couple layovers there, and they're about 30 hours each.
Nice.
And our hotel that we stay at is right on the Mediterranean Sea. And so it has the most beautiful sunset.
Okay.
Yeah. And then domestic, my favorite domestic layover is Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Is that where Elvis is from?
Yes.
All right.
Graceland.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
And Gus's Fried Chicken.
And Gus's Fried Chicken.
Yes.
For some reason, don't they have it in Texas too?
Yeah.
Are they like all over the
it's
place?
a chain.
Okay, it's a chain. All right.
But it originated
I had it in Austin.
in Memphis.
I had it in Austin last time I was there. Because it's
the
right
best?
next to
Yeah.
the hotel.
Right down the street.
Like, not even down the street, like attached to it. It's right there.
around
Was
the
it the
corner.
best chicken? I don't think it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have the fried okra?
No.
What?
No, I don't
You
eat.
had
No,
to.
I don't like shamu.
That's southern things.
Oh, that's an orca. I'm thinking about an orca.
Okra.
Okra. What is okra?
It is a trash vegetable that you should only eat if it's fried, and that's how they serve it at Gus's Chicken.
Why only fried? Why is it?
Because it's terrible. It's like slimy. It's like a
Is
baby.
it like a celery?
It's more like a eggplant, like a baby eggplant. Like, you know how they're
Okay.
kind of slimy on the inside?
No. I've never had an eggplant in my life.
Oh.
Except the emoji I've sent that many times.
I don't know how else to describe okra. They're
Well,
not great.
I've been confused this entire time. Okra and orca.
Okra.
I thought okra was a piece of an orca.
What?
And I don't like seafood, so that's why I never had fried okra.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
That's a thing. Okay, so Memphis.
Yeah.
For Gus's Fried Chicken and Elvis's
Mm-hmm.
home
Mm-hmm.
place. I've never been to Memphis. Not yet. On a layover. Yeah.
Charlotte has a lot of Memphis layovers.
I see them. I just can't get them.
Oh, and Graceland. We stay at Graceland.
Don't you say?
Hotel.
Yeah. They're great, yeah.
And
Wait, where is Dolly Parton's hotel or
Gatlin.
Opryland?
Well, her roller coaster is in Gatlin,
Tennessee?
Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
I thought we say in a.
I've never been. I mean, I've been not with work. But Graceland, they give you free peanut butter and banana sandwiches at like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. And then they
On
have
like white bread?
yeah, and then they have a movie theater and they just play Elvis movies on repeat.
It sounds terrible.
No, it's amazing.
What's your favorite Elvis movie that you've seen?
What's the one? Blue Hawaii, probably.
Okay.
Right? Is that what it's called?
Is that the one he sings Viva Las Vegas?
What's one where
Or is
he's
that
in
Viva
Hawaii?
Las Vegas? Hawaii?
When he's in Hawaii?
I don't know. I've never seen an Elvis movie in my life. I haven't even seen Elvis, the movie about Elvis. Have you seen that one?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Me neither.
With Austin Butler?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Why did you want to be a flight attendant? Like, what was the inspiration? I get this question all the time, and I have a boring story about why.
Okay.
My friend was posting pictures on her Facebook on the beach every week, and I asked her, I'm like, "Are you a model now?" Like, and I was serious. It wasn't like, "Oh, you look." It wasn't a pickup line. It was like, "Are you a model now? Like, you're on the beach all the time in a new bathing suit." She's like, "No, I work for JetBlue, and I'm always in Cancun. That's my layovers." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Left it at that. Then a couple months later, she's like, "Hey, we're hiring. You should apply." I'm like, "Nah." And she said it was good. Like, she said I'd be a good flight attendant. I was like, I still don't feel like it. And I had a good job at Expedia at the time, doing like groups and conventions in Orlando. So I was like really doing good stuff. And then I applied. I got hired for, well, I got selected for a video interview, then a phone interview, then an in-person interview. I still didn't think I got the job until I showed up for training. And then I was like, oh shit, this is real. And then they asked me for my passport. I didn't have one. I got my passport because of a flight attendant job. And yeah. Did you have a passport before you worked?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why?
I traveled. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I became flight attendant, was because I was traveling so much. And at the time, I wasn't making like a ton of money. Like I was making like just enough. And I was like, there's got to be a cheaper way to do this, because I was so obsessed with traveling. I think right before I applied to be a flight attendant, I had gone on like a 10-day like solo trip. I went to like Munich in Austria by myself. Okay. Like I just saw good airfare and I went. And yeah, I had a spreadsheet on my computer at work. Of how much PTO I earned and like when. And so whenever I had enough, I would go take a vacation.
So what did you do before you were flight attendant?
I worked at a bank. I was a CSR, customer service. It was a very small bank. We had like 11 branches and we literally did everything, like open accounts, but we were also tellers. But then we also did a lot of like compliance.
That was right before, like that was what you were doing right before flight attendant?
Kind
Stuff.
of.
Okay.
Well, so the whole hiring process, I don't know about you, but it took so long.
It did. It was, I think I applied in September and I didn't start training until like February.
Yeah,
so it was a good 6 months.
Okay, mine took almost a full year.
Yeah.
So I was working at the bank and then I got my offer after all the interviews and stuff. And they told me at the interview that I would be able to be based in Dallas, which was what I wanted at the time. I have family in Houston.
Okay.
So they are like, oh, yeah, no problem. You'll get Dallas, no problem. And so I quit my job in Minnesota and I moved to Houston, thinking that I was going to commute Houston to Dallas and it would be no big deal.
So you moved before you completed training or even started?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have family there. So my cousin had literally just bought a house and was kind of freaking out about the cost, as one does. And so I was like, hey, I'll move in with you. So I went there, got a waitressing job, and just like waitressed until training started. So I moved Thanksgiving weekend and training started March 3rd or March 5th, like something like that. So I went for a few months.
You didn't get Dallas?
No, I didn't at all. Not even a little. And I couldn't even transfer to Dallas.
So what was your first? Was it Chicago or?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Was your first base? Okay.
It was before our contracts were finalized. So I couldn't transfer to Dallas. I couldn't transfer to any. So
were you commuting? Like doing the Houston?
No, so after I got in training, I decided to just move to Charlotte and try it out.
How do you like Charlotte? Now that you're there.
I love it.
Do you have family there or no?
No.
Just friends?
Yeah.
Friends and work?
Yeah. I've
Sometimes
made friends along the way. Yeah.
That friends are family.
I mean, I'm friends with, a ton of my classmates still. I've made best friends along the way. My best friend, Amber, obviously. I met her.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, that's a story. That's a story. My brother, who co-hosts this podcast, knows Amber very well because he's my brother, of course. I think maybe Omar knows her as well, but I think he knows her as the white girl I dated from the airline.
Okay.
That's all he knows. That's all he knows of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my ex of a year. Shout out to Amber.
And my best friend ever.
Sarah's best friend. So I'm sitting here with my ex-girlfriend's best friend.
Yeah.
If you're just tuning in. But yeah, she's cool. So Sarah and we met because, well, not only because of the airline, but she's a huge aficionado of theme parks. So Universal, Disney. We actually just went to SeaWorld the other day.
Yesterday.
For your first time. Yes, yesterday.
Yesterday.
For your first time ever.
Yeah.
SeaWorld.
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
I liked it. The rides were nice.
The rides were nice. Okay.
The whole theming and everything was a little underwhelming.
Of the rides. Or of the entire park?
Of
you're
the
saying?
entire park, I
Okay.
think.
Did you expect like a land, like Otterland, Penguin Land,
I don't
like
know.
Disney? Are you used to that? Or is that what?
You know, yeah, like Disney Universal stuff. Like, obviously I knew it was different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it was more like a normal theme park opposed to like a destination theme park. Like in my head, I thought SeaWorld, I don't know.
Like people come to Orlando solely for SeaWorld. No. SeaWorld is definitely like just an add-on for like a day that you have free.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to SeaWorld. Yeah. Like it's a step above Gatorland, but definitely a step below like Universal.
Yeah.
And Disney and all that, yeah.
It reminded me a lot of like the theme park in Minnesota.
Okay.
Valley Fair, it's called. And it's just a theme park. Like they have roller coasters and concessions, you know.
How would you rank it next to like a Six Flags? I've only been to like one Six Flags in my life, but
Yeah. Same.
would you say Six Flags is like better?
Maybe because
Theme
it
rides?
usually has more rides, you know?
Yeah, they have more rides. But theming,
I mean, there was theming there.
yeah.
And it was fun, you know, like the shark place, you obviously knew you were going into a shark thing, and then they had a lot of shark stuff in the gift shop. But I don't know. It was just
For me, SeaWorld's always been like a glorified aquarium with like a few rides here and there. That's it. Now, when we went, there wasn't a lot of like aquarium-like things either. Even the aquariums that we went to, like after Manta, like I was like, you know, I remember this being a lot bigger, a lot more fun. The aquarium part of it, you know, like the viewing areas. Like even when we went to Wild Arctic where they had the belugas, I was like, there's no belugas here. I don't know where the belugas went, but you know, like
And
I felt
we never saw the penguins.
we didn't go into the penguins. No,
Was it even open?
it was.
Oh,
There was a line though, so we skipped it
okay.
and went straight to the roller coasters. Actually, you want to do Journey to Atlantis, the water ride, even though it was 40 degrees outside. Went on that.
That
You met a
kid,
friend, yep.
yes. Oh my gosh, the kid that was sitting in front of us. I mean, I was scared, but I was more scared about getting wet than I was about the ride.
Yeah, the ride's not terrible.
But he thought I was actually scared, and so he kept turning around and explaining the ride, like what was gonna happen next. But very cynical.
Yeah, like you think it's over,
Yes.
or is it? I think he said like or is it?
did.
Like, yeah, I don't know. He was a killer.
But
He might grow up to be a serial killer. We'll just say that.
oh my gosh.
Um,
He was so excited because I was freaking out, and he was like,
just I felt like he had control over you.
yes.
He's like, I've been on this 5 times before you came on this. This is your first time? You're in trouble,
But
lady. You're in trouble.
I was more just scared about getting wet, not the actual
Not the actual ride, yeah. So Sarah and I, we have this love for theme parks. So once in a while, we'll put, I don't know, message each other about things that are happening. Tron is opening up in April. It's gonna be fun. I've been on Tron in Shanghai, which you have not, but I know you're excited about Tron. So any like theme park news, Sarah is one to send me like a little Instagram message and forward me that information, even though I might have known for like 2 weeks since I live in Orlando. I'm going to skip the cliche, give me a crazy flight attendant story, because I hate that question.
Okay.
Because I really don't have that many crazy stories. Up until recently, where I had the pilot had a heart attack in the plane, and then I had a lightning strike the other day. There's been a lot of stuff that has happened to me recently, which I'll get into much later. So I'm going to skip that question of like crazy stories that you have for traveling. As flight attendants, we do encounter a loss of common sense when dealing with the traveling public.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like something is in the air in the airport. As soon as they get into the airport, they lose their mind.
My aunt is a flight attendant, and she says when they check their bags, they check their brains.
When you check your bags, you check your brain. That is the perfect analogy I would use for that.
Yes.
I don't understand what it is. Like, I feel my common sense is still with me. Like when people ask for where the exit is and there's a big sign that says the exit's this way, baggage claim is this way, everything is it's marked. Like I feel like there's a lot of
Yes, but we were selected and trained to think rationally.
So the people are not trained to travel rationally is what you're saying.
I guess.
Now, if hypothetically there was a class to give. You know how like Apple has their genius classes for iPhone for beginners or GarageBand for beginners. If there was a travel for beginners that you were teaching, your curriculum, what would be a couple travel tips you would give as far as like common sense? What are the things like you're traveling? You know that commercial, not Geico. I feel like it's an insurance commercial. Like, don't become your parents or don't become who they are. And they just like do all these dumb old stuff.
Yes.
Like that. So if you were that guy, trying to train people to travel correctly, what would be some travel tips that you would give them? Things that annoy you. That you wish they would stop doing or start doing.
Well, God, I don't even know where to start. Putting your bags up in the overhead bin properly.
What is properly?
Storing. Well, putting your smaller items like your jackets in your small backpacks under the seat in front of you.
Instead of using the entire overhead bin to spread out your jacket.
Right.
Correct.
For one small item.
For one item, yep.
The seat, the storage under the seat in front of you is so far in front of you, it does not take up your leg space. Really, it doesn't. Unless you're shorter and you can spread out your legs. But really, it doesn't. I don't know. I know that my mom is one of those people that like gets panic when she flies. Like she's one of those people that would go to the bathroom and not know how to open it. And I always just tell her, Mom, you're working yourself up. Take a breath and just look. Like, just think for a second. You know how to turn a doorknob, but like the pressure from the unknown just freaks her out.
Unknown what? Of like not knowing what's inside the bathroom, or just not knowing like, hey, this isn't a new door that I'm opening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. I don't know.
I'm also gonna play like the Frozen song, was it Into the Unknown, while we're talking about this in the background.
Yeah, I don't know. My mom is one of those panic weirdos too. The people that like don't know how to turn a doorknob. And we have two types of doors. One with an actual doorknob that you twist.
On the plane, you're saying?
Yes. And then one with a big square sign that says push. And that's where you push to open the door.
There's a big silver rectangle that looks like you should push it or touch it. And as human beings, we are naturally inclined to touch things. But on the airplane, people that want to go to the bathroom are like, all of a sudden, I don't want to touch this door. But I need to go to the bathroom. How do I open this? And above big, that bold, big rectangle, it's a big, bold, actually on the top, and I think maybe on the bottom too, or on both sides of the rectangle.
Both sides.
It says push in big, capital, bold letters.
Yes. And they're red also.
Now, I'm going to ask you, are you one of those people that as soon as they come up and you see them struggling, you're like, oh, just push? Or are you like me, where I sit back for about 30 seconds to see what they're going to do, to see what their natural reaction is, where they're going to touch, what they expect this door to do, before I decide to help them out? And not even help them out, I'm just like, push. I point to the words.
Yeah,
unless they're foreign, then I'm like, all right.
Right.
Empuje, yeah.
I like to put on my biggest smile and be as friendly as possible and make people feel as dumb as possible. So I go, oh, it says you're supposed to push right where it says push, and I'll like just point to it, like because it's so obvious. So I just like to make them feel
very obvious.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you push right here where it says push.
Where it says push, yeah. I used to say that a lot.
With a big grin on my face.
I used to say it a lot. You push where it says push. They're like, and they still say, they're like, oh, where? Oh, there.
Yeah.
Oh, silly me. Oh my. And then they hit their head. I'm like, you're just an idiot. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No,
So push where it says push.
Yeah.
What's your next travel tip?
Or like the ones with the, the handles that we twist the handles on the bathroom. It's either the push sign or the handle. I'll literally take one finger and very obviously and slowly like twist open the door. Like.
Oh, you do it for them?
Yeah.
I just tell them to turn it like a doorknob. I'm like, it's a doorknob.
I just demonstrate to them how stupid and silly it is. Ugh.
Give me one more tip. That was 2 tips. Give me one more.
There is a menu in every seat back pocket
Imagine that.
that shows you exactly what we have for food and drink on board. And it takes 2 seconds to look at it.
I never expected that. I just assumed everybody would come on board to a plane with no menus to let you know what we have for drinks. And you would just spew the first drink that you want out of your mouth, including pineapple. I don't know if they want pineapple juice or soda. Orange, soda, Fanta. I get Fanta a lot. But who would have thought there's a menu, a guide with information
See,
right in front of your face where you're sitting?
it's not even down anymore. It's
not.
literally
It's right eye level where it says in-flight entertainment as well. And
with
the menu.
step-by-step instructions how to connect
How to connect to the
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, correct. That's a whole nother thing because I get that all the time. All the time. Like I'm
Every
Geek Squad on the fucking plane.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, the instructions are here. It amazes me.
By step.
Amazes me how many people know how to repost and reshare stupid ass videos on Facebook. The oldest person you could think of, like grandma level, and then I'm like, how do you share so perfectly but don't know how to connect to a Wi-Fi signal that allows you to share these videos? How do you go about life?
It even goes before that. Like when someone asks me, my first step is your phone on airplane mode? 90% of the
announced.
time, people are like, what's airplane mode? How do you not know what airplane mode is? Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I will have to show people how to put their phone in airplane mode, which if you have iPhone, it's the easiest thing ever.
It looks like an airplane.
You just
Swipe down.
Yeah.
And there's a little airplane. It looks like an airplane.
Yes. Yeah, so that's step number 1. And that
Step 1.
Yeah. That usually right there is like, oh
Step
no.
2, read the directions. There's 2 steps, literally 2 steps, and follow it.
Well, we also have multiple announcements that say that
How to connect
How to
the
connect.
signal. Yeah. To the in-flight signal.
Yes.
Visit blah 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 inflight.com
Oh yeah.
and you can connect to the signal. I don't get that.
Yes.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
All right. So what was that tip? That last tip was
Look at the
there
menu.
are menus, yes. So reading is important. Reading, it's a rule now. Now, outside of your flight attendant life, you have expressed an interest,
Yeah.
which is why we have this mic that we're using here instead of my usual pod mic that's there. We're testing out your mic as well for podcast capabilities. However, you have expressed interest in voiceover work.
Yeah.
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 So, how did that come about? And want to do voiceover? Like, I don't like that's very specific.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, I bought a mic because I want to do like just things here and there. Maybe test some things. Maybe do a podcast. Not like I want to do voiceover work with no experience.
Well, specifically, I want to do, like, I would love to be, like, in a cartoon or do audiobooks for specifically children's books.
Okay.
But I always kind of thought it would be fun to be in a cartoon. And I get stage fright. So the thought of voice acting, like, no one's looking at you besides, like, the production crew. You know, it's not like no one's actually can see you. So I don't know, I've always thought about it. But then I was flying with someone that does, she actually does like commercials and acting and stuff. Some random flight attendant. And she, out of nowhere, was like, you would be really good at voice acting. Have you ever considered it before? And I was like, you know, like, I kind of have. And she's like, you should look into it. And then I started looking into it, and I was like, holy crap, this is something I want to do. So I started following a lot of people on TikTok that do it. and just doing research. And I'm like, holy crap, this sounds so cool. And I think I would be really good at it. And anytime I mention it to someone, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you have such a unique voice. Or, oh my gosh, you have such a good voice. So of course that put me up, getting, people to acknowledge the thing that I kind of think too, that I have a very unique voice. And then I asked for one for Christmas, and my brother got me one. And I was like, okay, I have to do it now. I can't keep talking about it. I have to do it now.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
Do you have any like influences and like voice influences like that you've heard in cartoons or voices like in cartoons that you were like, man, I wish like I could do that, or maybe I sound like this person, maybe I could do this character. Like, is there a character you want to do?
No, just like a cute person on a cartoon. I don't know. I also can like make my voice sound like an actual child too. And I don't know. I think it's something that I would be really good at.
Well, you said that.
I don't know.
You have to demonstrate that on this microphone.
I can't. No.
As a child?
I can't.
You can't say, hey, I can make my voice sound like a child.
No.
Have you heard a podcast before?
Ready.
Have you heard a talk show interview? As soon as somebody says that,
I'm not ready.
Then I go to the audience like, hey, audience, don't you want to hear? And then they all clap. Jimmy Fallon is like, hey, let's plug in here. I think you should do it. What if I turn around and not look at you?
No, I'm not ready.
I think you should.
I need to practice. I almost sound like a child right now with my normal voice.
This is your moment to sound like a child.
No. No, it's okay.
No.
I don't know. No.
Get in touch with your Buttercup or Bubbles or Blossom, one of the Powerpuff Girls.
Bubbles is the blonde
The blonde one, yes. Bubbles.
And that used to be my nickname back home.
Her name Bubbles.
Yeah. There's no angry way to say Bubbles. And nobody can stay mad at me. Ever.
Bubbles.
No angry
I can
way?
say, yeah, there has to be a way.
Say it angrily. Bubbles. You can't.
No, when you say it, Bubbles, then yes, I laugh.
Okay,
Bubbles. I can say Bubbles angrily. Hold on, I'm thinking about like a really bad experience.
Okay.
Bubbles killed my dad. Fuck Bubbles.
I mean, you don't sound that angry.
It wasn't angry?
Not really.
It's just the word Bubbles, not angry?
I know.
Is it the syllables, the vowels?
Because it's such a cute word.
Oh.
I don't know.
It's weird.
I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
So you don't have an influence?
I really don't.
Okay.
It's my voice is my influence. I think that I would be perfect for it. I don't know. That's how I became a flight attendant. I knew I was perfect for the job, and I just had to prove it to other people.
Now, what happens if you start getting voiceover work?
Mm-hmm.
Would you leave the airline?
I don't think so.
You don't think you'll ever leave the airline?
I mean, I really don't think there's any way I could ever supplement my income to that degree.
I mean, because our flight attendant pay is great pay. It's hard to leave that. It's good pay.
It's not that great.
I mean, but it is. I mean, compared to like a 9 to 5, for the amount of work you do, the flexibility you have for days off, things of that nature. You don't work a 9 to 5 bank job. Especially my goal now that I'm almost done with school in June. I would love to leave the airline. I just need to find something that is equal to the pay that I'm making now. Even if it's more work, I feel like for me, it's going to be something that I'm passionate about, that I love doing.
Which is why you're going to school to do it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, is the voiceover work something that you could see yourself being more passionate about than a flight attendant, to where you're getting, maybe you might be in a studio recording more, maybe like 8-hour days, 10-hour days, 12-hour days.
Like we didn't just do a 12-hour day today.
Correct. But it's in a studio. It's just you in front of a microphone and doing this.
True.
Is that something that you could see yourself being like, I'm passionate enough and I love this enough to leave the airline?
Yes and no. Yes, because I would enjoy bringing joy to other people and making other people happy. But as much as I hate people sometimes, I love customer service and I like talking to people and I like flirting with people. You know, like I like that.
Flirting with people.
Well, like how we talked about earlier.
What did we talk about earlier?
Let's
talk about your first class posture at times. So if I have a bottom drawer in my cart,
yeah. Whores bend at the knees and ladies bend at the waist.
Whores bend at the knees.
And ladies.
And ladies
Yeah.
bend at the waist. Right.
Or at the hips.
At the hips.
So I definitely
Uh-huh.
like to, I mean, I'm not being like gross about it, but I will bend over. So I know what people like to look at. I worked at a country club for 5 years. I know how to schmooze.
You know how to
Rich
schmooze
white
rich white
men.
people.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. That's the key word here. Rich white men.
And I'm so good at it.
Yes.
I also I like talking to women. I like getting to know other people too, but I like schmoozing sometimes.
What is it? Is it an attention thing, or is it like, what is that? What's that drive? What's the drive? Is it the power that you have, the control you have over?
A little.
Like, you may not be a rich white female, but these rich white men are looking and oogling and ogling and will throw themselves at you.
It's because they're so simple, and it's just it's easy to manipulate them.
It's easy.
I don't know. I also enjoy making people happy, and I like serving people. If I had a family with kids up there, like, I would still be really great and over the top and friendly. I like making people happy.
And would you still bend at the
giving
hips?
Good service.
Would you still bend at the hips if you had your family?
I would still bend at the hips, but maybe I wouldn't do it in the middle of the aisle. Maybe I'd just move over.
Do you do this in the middle of the aisle?
Yeah, you saw how I moved my meal cart to the outside.
Yeah, so all right, so if you need a visual, if you're looking down the middle of the cabin towards the front, like the cockpit door.
Yeah.
Behind one wall is like our jump seat. Behind the other wall is all of our carts and coffee makers. And we have several carts that are there on that side.
Yes.
And the farthest one that is towards the cockpit door,
The middle of the aisle.
Is visible
Yes.
to customers. So you purposely move your trays and meal carts. Why can't you do this with like a soda insert? Or
I don't go into it
as often?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So when you pick up their
but
trays,
most of the stuff's at the top of the drawer for the soda drawer.
So when you pick up their trays, because you obviously had to put them on the bottom, that's when Sarah with no H like turns on.
Time to shine.
Turns on. Okay, and then what happens after that? Do they ring their combo button after? Do they start throwing like $5, $20? I'm sorry, not 5, 20. We don't sell yourself short. Me, I can only demand 5. Like, I'm,
They're paying for first class. They can afford a 20. Like, no, it doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't.
So what is the outcome of the bending of the hips at the hips?
It butters
Them up.
Yeah.
And then what?
Gets them in a better mood. Then they're nicer.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes they give me award tickets. Sometimes they give me money. Just because
Look at this. This is, yes.
I'm
okay.
Giving them great. I'm
Now,
providing good service.
Just to recap.
Oh, God.
Whores bend at the knees, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Whores also get money and tips.
Shut up.
So which is it? What are we doing?
I'm providing
A visual
exceptional
service?
customer service.
That is not exceptional customer service. I mean, I don't know.
Something to look at.
It's a visual, yeah.
It's just bending over.
Uh-huh.
I'm not,
in a tight skirt.
you can't see anything. I mean, you can't
Yeah,
see, you
but
can't
with
see up my
men,
skirt.
you know how men are
You can't see up my skirt.
with their imagination. They just think things, and
That's okay.
so you'd like to be the object
It's fun.
of men's imagination.
I'm single.
Uh-huh.
I enjoy the attention.
She is single. Hit her up somewhere.
I enjoy the attention.
Search Sarah with no H.
I like it. I like making people happier because then they're nicer to me.
Okay.
And we have more fun. Not like that. I mean,
That was the look. That
just
was the
like, hey,
yeah, yeah.
Like today, we had a 5.5 hour flight.
5.5 hours. I was dying.
Yeah.
I did get 60 pages into Goblet of Fire, though. So, not enough. Because then they started getting needy. Because on a 5.5 hour flight, in the back, in main cabin, where I work with the peasants and my folk, not my rich white men that are up front. But with my people in the back, we do our service within the first, 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. So that means we have 4.5 hours to kill. We do second service towards the end.
But like an hour.
An hour before. So really we have 3.5 hours of nothing, like downtime. We're just supposed to walk through the cabin, make sure everybody's cool, and sleeping for the most part. But then we do our second service about an hour out. About 90 minutes out, maybe even 2 hours out, we start getting call bells. People start ringing their call bells. They want water. They want another soda. They want all, and then it's a constant
permission to go to the bathroom.
Permission to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand that. But, I mean, maybe they think they're in school. They need a little pass. Maybe we should have, hall passes. Or go.
No,
Here you go. Just go. But I believe in first class, I think you have even more downtime.
Today I didn't. Definitely not.
But
I had
that's
a lot
because
of drinkers.
You had a lot of drinkers.
A
You
lot
did
of
have
talkers.
One talker in specific who was talking not only you, but talking to his neighbors on both sides of him. Of the aisle. So, yeah. And then I think you told me finally he fell asleep. But when I went up, he was awake. He woke back up, while you were there. And
Yeah,
that's
because the
when
lady next to him was trying to ask me for something, and
he
it
immediately
woke him
heard
up.
a voice.
Yes, he's like, somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he took off I saw his face. He took off one of his earphones, and then he had this smirk on his face, oh, hello. You've come back.
Yeah.
I felt like he thought you were coming back for him. That's when I decided to leave. I'm like, listen, you bend at the knees or bend at the waist, whatever you're going to do right now. I'm going to go collect trash in the back.
You shoved past me so
fast.
I
did. I didn't want to hear him.
I didn't either.
Because the lady he was talking to across the aisle,
the dentist, loved her so much.
She was great. She asked me, she was like, how do I get first class cheaper or for free? I was like, data flight attendant. That's what I told her. And she's like, I'm married. Yeah. I'm like, that's fine. I'm just saying, that's the easiest way. But then I told her to upgrade stuff. While I'm talking to her, the guy
who doesn't work for our airline
doesn't do anything. He's not only butting in the conversation, but when I don't acknowledge him, he's then tapping my arm. Not once, not twice, but 3 times until I decide to look over. Yes? He's like, she doesn't want to date a flight attendant or a pilot because she's married. I'm like, I'm getting this information from her already. You don't need to tell me this story again. I'm literally getting it from the source of this whole story. And then
this fucking guy.
I don't know what I don't know if he was. I feel like he just wanted attention. He was like a child
whole time.
Or a puppy.
She asked me. She said, "Hey, this is my first time in Seattle.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?" And I was like, "Oh, well, And then he instantly was like, "Oh, you had to do this, 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 this." And I'm like, "Oh, but you should really try this." And I said, Beecher's mac and cheese, which is my
you did
favorite.
mention that, yes.
I did, and she didn't know how to spell it, so she was asking me to spell it. And the whole time I was like B, and then he would say something, and I was like E, and he would say something, and I was like, I'm just trying to spell out this word for her. She was trying to ignore him because she really wanted to hear what I had to say, because he would not shut up.
So tip number 4, shut up when a flight attendant is trying to have a conversation with another passenger. And it's none of your business. Tip number 4.
At that point, it was not his conversation.
No.
And she kept trying to ask me, and he kept butting in, but then she would like ignore what he was saying, and she would look up at me and ask me a question, and he just kept going. And finally, I threw my hands up like this, and I walked away.
In front of him?
Yeah, well, like I was standing
Did he
between
notice?
them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he had to have. I was
I
standing.
don't think he
in front
did. I think a person like that is so oblivious to what he's doing.
Yeah, he was.
Maybe
there.
she noticed. She was like, "Oh, okay, she's gone."
Like, okay, then I even tried talking over him, and he wouldn't
That doesn't
allow
work.
it.
No, it doesn't work.
And people listen to me when I talk. Usually, sometimes.
Especially on this podcast. Give Mike a Mic Reloaded, which you can follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Shameless plug.
So if I press this, it'll.
If you press that, it mutes. Or do you want to press it? You what? Oh, you have to potty. We have a potty break. All right, time out. And we're back from our potty break. And we're just going to wrap this up because we are supposed to meet our pilot about 30 seconds ago downstairs. So, Sarah with no H, thank you for being in this podcast. Next time we'll have you on. We'll be in a different city, maybe.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about something different. We'll see how your voiceover work is going. See where you're at in that. Maybe you have a podcast at that point. Who knows? No.
Yeah,
probably
we'll
not.
see.
No, I don't think so.
I don't really.
I don't
want a
think. Yeah, I don't think
podcast.
you want a podcast. Do you listen to any podcasts?
No. One time I did.
To any podcast?
One
Like,
time, yeah. When
to
I was
who?
driving, I listened to one.
To what podcast?
It was something about murder.
Oh, like a true crime.
Something.
Yeah, those are popular.
But like that was like one time.
This is not one of those.
One time I drove from Minnesota to Chicago, and that's just like 6 hours.
And you're just listening to a podcast the whole time?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was it. That was the only time I've ever done a podcast.
Wow.
I don't have the attention span.
Just people talking, having conversation.
Exactly.
Would you listen to this podcast? Like this episode that we're doing right now?
I don't know.
Of you and talking like, oh, this is interesting. This is something I want to hear.
I
From a
guess.
flight attendant or a life of flight attendant.
Yeah, maybe.
If it wasn't you, if it was a different flight attendant that was sitting here, would you listen to them?
Maybe.
You don't care.
No.
Oh, that's terrible. All right. Well, Sarah No H, thank you for
I'm
being
not
on the
a
podcast.
person.
Do you have anything to plug? Any like profile site of like your voiceover work that people can like go check you out or hire you or anything of that nature?
Not
Do you
yet.
have any of that yet?
Incoming.
Incoming. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get that, we'll go ahead and plug it, and we'll have a website. I'll go ahead and plug it on this podcast because that is my thank you to you for being on this podcast today. Outside of that,
It was fun.
let's go drink.